Appreciate you guys sticking around. Long day and my first time at this show. It's a privilege to be here. I'm going to talk a little skinny on skins. You know, all this work and due diligence that goes into this, I mean, I'm blown away today. All these talks, it's just unbelievable. All the mechanics, and I mean, it reminds me of what they talk about in the big leagues, what you guys are going through as high school coaches. It's very impressive. So, of course, me with fields being my passion, you know, you go to all that work, it's got to hurt when it all comes together, and you got a consistent, predictable player out there, and then the game's decided on a bat hop, right? That's got to. I mean, somebody might say, well, it plays both ways. Well, I don't care. I never like to see the game dictated that way. So, just something we'll start with to observe today, that all that work you guys do, I know it's not easy, but try to make your field a priority. That being said, you know, at the big league level, it's all about safety, consistency, predictability, and aesthetics. Well, I think that's even more important at the little league level and the high school level. You know, especially 10, 12 years old, you get the child that gets a chance to learn to play the game, and they go in softball, baseball, take a bad hop in the throat. They may never play again. Who knows what they might have missed out on. So I've got a passion for it even more than I did in the big leagues. In the big leagues, it's all about the money. If I lost my job, $1 million player gets hurt. But at the lower levels, I think it's very important. Quick background on myself. Clemson, like Tim said, got my BS in turf. I was in golf, jumped ship to baseball. Was in 22 years in groundskeeping, and then I was able to also have my own construction company. So in San Diego, we had a laser grader, and we did this in different states where I was at, from South Carolina, Iowa, Pennsylvania, Southern California, Dominican Republic, and Korea. And my point is with this history is that I'm not just looking at what you guys do from a Major League groundskeeper perspective. It's not the same, so I'm not comparing that. I want to make that very clear. The other thing I'll say is this is going to be a rapid fire talk since we're behind, and this is a lot of information in one, but I'm going to leave you with some information at the end that you can chew on or follow up on. I also work a little in the distribution industry, and again, looking at groundskeepers, contractors, architects, baseball coaches from that perspective opened up a whole new world. Now I'm with a supplier, manufacturer, I'm doing product development, quality control. So again, looking at architects from different perspectives, field builders, contractors, and some of the pitfalls that if you ever get an opportunity to build a new field, I'm going to try to help make you aware of. The other thing I'll say about South Carolina, you know, I've been all around the country and seen fields all over. You know, I'm a natural grass guy and a natural dirt guy. I think baseball is meant to be played on a natural surface. Okay, I have nothing against the hybrid system. Hybrid system being you got to put an artificial in the foul. You have natural in the infield. You know, in some cases, I mean, even as much as I hate to see the Diamondbacks and the Rangers are going to artificial grass, at least they're playing 70% or greater of the game on the dirt. So you think about the dirt, it's only 10% of your field. Let's just say a round number, 100,000 square feet, dirt's 10,000 square feet. Over 70% of games played on the dirt, especially if you have runners on base. So think about that. All right, we're going to have a little fun with a little bit of history. This was back in the Astrodome. I don't know if this was a technological change. I guess back in the day it was. You know, why they're wearing the moon suits, I don't know. Maybe they were simulating a meteor shower. It looks like there's some craters in the moon and asteroids coming down or something. They had to have those helmets on. But they had to be hot in them things. I know in these domes, during the day, they don't run the AC, and that one was like a great house. There's nobody in the stands there, and they're still wearing the suits. But, you know, it did appear state-of-the-art at the time. They marketed it well. They took pride in it back in the day. When I was a kid and first saw AstroTurf on TV, I thought it was pretty cool. You know, and I always wanted to play on it and touch it, and the first time I touched it, and I didn't think it was that cool. So this was 1966. Over the next 20 years, this carpet was installed in many Major League, NFL, and Division I fields. During the same period, golf gained momentum with engineered soils for their results. So let me give a little bit of history here again, and this is, I'm 47 years old, so anybody's my age or older, you're going to remember, if you ever played golf, okay? Back in the day, golf was, all the greens were push-up greens. So those of you that don't remember those, push-up greens are local native soil. They're pushed up and they build a green. Okay? They're inconsistent around the world, inconsistent around the country, inconsistent from city to city, and inconsistent from green to green on each golf course. Well, the engineered root zone was developed in 1960. First engineered spec for the game of golf that also took off later in sports. The differences in the push-up green and the engineered root zone is different across the country. Push-up green is softer after rain, had more worm casting, more weed seed, inconsistent management from green to green, and inconsistent ball roll and ball bounce in different weather conditions. Well, the new engineered root zone enhanced performance, structural stability, more consistent despite the weather, predictable, more wear and tear. You can see all the benefits of the new engineered green, and they, they got more rounds of golf in. They made more money. It can be duplicated indefinitely across the country. So it took the golf industry probably 10 years before all the big name courses got it, and then another 10 or 15 before every course figured out that, hey, this makes sense, this return on investment makes sense. And now even the municipal courses down the street have it. So here is NFL and Major League Baseball prior to engineered soils. Not only the old native root zone, but the native infield mixes. So again, finishing up some history here, you get to the early 90s, and then, from the early 90s to 2005, the USGA root zones replaced the native soil fields and the carpet. It occurred at a rather quick pace with much success. In 1990, 50% of Major League Baseball and NFL were artificial. So all, Pitt, Cincinnati, St. Louis, KC, Philly, Seattle, I was in Pittsburgh and saw that transformation from artificial to the natural surface, and I was fortunate enough to be part of the building. Minnesota, DC, which used to be the Expos, and so MLB and NFL shifted back to predominantly natural surfaces. The reasons being the rug became too hard, USGA root zones caught on. So in 2004 was the innovation of the first engineered infield soil. So this is, the sports turf industry. I'm a member of the STMA, Sports Turf Manager Association, which if you're not, I would encourage you to join the South Carolina. It's cheap and you can get a lot out of it. But the Golf Course Superintendent Association and the GCSA has always been 20, 30 years ahead of us for whatever reason. Now we're finally catching up. But in 2004, it was first introduced to our industry. Similar benefits to the ball field industry as engineered soils provided for golf. In 2005, it was introduced to Major League Baseball. Some of the benefits were less migration, less disruption, structural stability when wet, little if any dust, more resilient, predictable and consistent. So here's a picture of somewhat of a typical loose and shifty native infield, local material, compared to a resilient engineered infield material. This is an engineered material showing how it provides stability in adverse weather conditions. And any of you that watched the 2007 World Series with the Phillies and the Rays may have seen this. Now, any armchair groundskeeper got their attention real quick on this. What the heck is going on there? There's nothing sticking to the bottom of his cleat. He's just, you see water flying up. Perfect traction here. They were stealing base. The umpires or the announcers were saying, hey, what's going on here? They got to stop this game. But that was mind-blowing. That's what caused the engineered infield materials to take off throughout the major leagues with such a high pace. Excellent traction in the rain, playability maintained. Most importantly, safety was maintained. So here's a picture again of an engineered soil structure. Forgiving after rain, you can play much quicker after rain versus a harvested soil structure that can typically become mucky and slippery after rain. So we're going to go to 2006 to present. The NFL shifted back to artificial with the new infield surfaces they have instead of the old carpet or rug. By 2010, Major League Baseball had 27 out of 30 teams with an engineered root zone. So Major League Baseball continued that shift to natural, while NFL went the other way. In 2018, 25 out of 30 teams had engineered infield soils. So that's, from 2004 to then, that's a pretty quick pace for something like that to happen, especially when I got in the game, how picky groundskeepers are and were about their infields, and how someone was secret and didn't want to share anything, and it was competitive. But once this came out, the Phillies and started to prove, and then the coaches and managers come back and said, hey, what's going on here? You got to step up to the plate and look at what they have. So it really took off. And so in 2020, there'll be 25 all-natural Major League Baseball fields and 5 artificial. So we got the Rangers transferring now, and the Diamondbacks. And, you know, the good thing is out of those 5 teams, the Rays, Toronto, the Rangers, Diamondbacks, I might be missing one, but at least they're playing the heart of the game on the skin, natural skin. So at least they're still maintaining that. And some of the reasons are indoors, limited light, massive amount of events. You know, there's no totally open ones that have artificial. And a lot of it can be corporate dollars too. So shifting to design, I'm going to kind of go through what are some of the pitfalls and why natural systems fail. And again, and I already mentioned this, remember, but when you travel around the country, I see artificial coming into baseball a lot, college level, high school level. Hats off to South Carolina and whatever you guys are doing, because South Carolina has somehow maintained more natural fields for baseball than other parts of the country. You know, I know it's coming into football, but so if you ever get an opportunity to start fresh, what has been some common practice with design? Well, high cost, cut and paste. With the Pirates and Padres, it was the exact same design. Padres paid 6 digits for a design which is the same as Pittsburgh. All it did was change PNC Park to Petco Park. They're written up by architects with soft hands and little, if any, coaching experience or sports field manager experience. They're good at drawing. Custom design is expected for the building, but not the field. And after the field is put in, it usually falls apart. And somehow inferior materials make their way to the project, value engineering, contractors coming in with no regulation, no supervision, and putting in what they want so they can make a buck. They'll put a low bid in and put something else, you know, that's not supposed to be in the project. So these are problems that occur every day that cause natural systems to fail. They drive you nuts, obviously. All right, so here's a college field lost in time. All right, this is, let's say where it is or what it is, but this is college field lost in time. So you figure this person or whoever's in charge of this trying to come up with a decision, and all of a sudden he or she gets handed a proposal, one-stop shop. Here you go, all the bells, you know, you don't have to worry about anything. That's what they tell them. You don't have to worry about nothing. Put this in, comes with a guarantee warranty. That's why it's coming in so quickly. So the question is that a sustainable solution? Well, there's so much out there now. I was actually even seeing on the news today some of this stuff, but it's not sustainable. It's not environmentally friendly if you're going that route. It's a petroleum-based product. The infill is arsenic-based, crushed up tires. Questionable if it has caused cancer with some of the stories we've heard out west with the soccer girls. So this is the type of stuff that people need to be informed of before you make a decision. Some facts from this newspaper was $60 to $70 a ton for disposal at the end of that 10-year period. Yeah, that's led to dumping in private landfills, and it's not easy to recycle like you can recycle and do a reno on a natural field. The other thing is the temperatures, obviously. And so a couple of readings here, you know, this was at UNC this summer. It was 87 degrees, and I was up there, they took this, 87. The asphalt was 144, the artificial was 154. And the natural grass was 94. Natural grass is a natural, it cools, it transpires, produces oxygen. So that's just 87. It gets a lot hotter than that here. So if you're putting it in to run summer camps in your field, think twice. And they can melt shoes, and I've seen umpires have heat exhaustion and catchers as well. This is what I actually saw on the national news today. And I'm not going to go through all these stats, but you know, you're talking. This is in the NFL, so it's not fair to compare to baseball maybe, but 199% higher PCL injury, 213% higher PCL injury, and Division II. That was Division I. So yeah, not going to get into all that, but you have to question. You see and hear this a lot. Players prefer natural because it gives. It's supposed to give it. This stuff doesn't. So playable in adverse weather conditions at what cost? Okay? Not only the safety and the heat and the sustainability, but you got to retrain your players how to slide. I mean, on a new field, they'll slide right past second base. And then it gets to be like this in 4 or 5 years. So today, and again, this is just touching base, we're going to shift to dirt again, but this is in case you guys ever have an opportunity to plan, because this takes years to plan. And you got to do your homework. We'd be more than happy to help you point in the right direction, help you with it. But today, design can be sourced out with lower costs, drawn up and written from a sports field manager's and a coach's perspective, involves owner and end user's input to take ownership, offers different options with specific facility and end user in mind, offers options for 100% natural or a hybrid system, like I mentioned. Implements certified installation by a certified field builder, making sure somebody's got experience, because building a rectangle field compared to a baseball field, don't cut the mustard. Seen it fail time and time again at high levels, by the way. Building a rectangle field and maintaining a rectangle field is different. You've got 2,000 edges, 2,000 feet of edges in a baseball field. And those 2,000 feet of edges should, on a new field, come out flush and pure and clean. Infield mix here, root zone here, and a smooth transition. That's easier said than done. Comes with more valid pertinent warranties and guarantees to go against artificial. Implements proper project management. Growing period executed with best practices, because that's also too. You can do everything right, get those last two, and fail. And provides maintenance training with a manual and follow-up. So that's what it takes to put together a successful, first-class, sustainable, viable solution for a natural field. All right, shifting to some more dirt. So is maintaining an infield skin an art or a science? I used to think it was an art. You know, I was fortunate to be in the game before engineered infield soils were available. So I used to think it was an art. And art is subjective, and art is aesthetic, and art is creative. However, a good infield skin is the result of applying principles of soil science. And those are predictable, replicable, and testable. So, trying to keep it simple, what are the two components of an infield skin? Well, it's base soil. They used to spec 6 inches. Now it's usually for field, it's usually 4 inches. But it's base soil, and usually it's imported, graded to facilitate surface drainage, and it should compact firmly. And then you've got the top dressing, which kind of acts like a mulch, creates better moisture management, makes a safer sliding surface, and protects the surface grade. So a good infield skin has traction, playability, resiliency, drainage, contrast, and consistency. You get all those things, you'll be in great shape. So what is the composition of this? Well, the sand provides structural integrity, medium to sub-rounded, low-medium shaped sand, 50 to 75% overall is target range, 40 to 50% should be retained on the medium sieve. Without getting into all the science, the reason that's crossed out is because that's still kind of what's in a loose spec book to this day. So if you get an opportunity to build a new field, I've seen it time and time again, and that's a huge range for them to go by. And you're not going to get the engineered surface that's going to play at a high performance at that range. Same with the silt. They're going to give that big range. Silt acts as a bridge between the sand and the clay. So again, we're creating a proper soil structure, a balanced soil structure to create a resilient surface. Clay provides color, retains moisture. Again, these are the numbers in the past that they still are growing out there today. If you look at a spec and you get an opportunity to build it, you'll see that. So the sand is important, medium sand to create pore space for the silt and clay to fill, but the percentage of silt and clay is not as important as the silt to clay ratio. And again, think of it like marbles in a jar. You got a piece of clay is the size of a BB. You go up to silt, it's the size of a baseball, and you go up to sand, it's the size of a beach ball. That's how different they are. So you've got to hit the nail on the head with the proper structure to fill that pore space, to create moisture holding capacity, play quicker after rain, and to prevent chunking out. So we're talking about clean cleat in and cleat out versus divots or foot marks that are going to cause a bad hop when they run around the base. What are some of the obstacles? Well, no industry standard, like golf. I think one day I'd love to see it happen, get in the college textbook before I end up retiring, because in Clemson we studied soil science and engineered root zones were in there, but this isn't yet. Limited regional harvested mixes, underuse of soil testing, and such a wide range of specs. That's the obstacles right now. How do we overcome these obstacles? Well, first determine who you are. You have two questions: what's your facility maintenance, resources, and practice, and do you have access to water? Then you get into field types. Okay, so your classification is going to determine your ideal sand content between 58 and 75%. So over here, you see the three guys with rakes and 3 water droplets. That's definitely big league, minor league, some D1. There are a couple of high schools, but in the intermediate, that's some D1, that's some spring training maybe, and a couple of high schools, that you've got a grasp of a hose. If you're able to get out there in the water, you can go with that. But if it's just like volunteer maintenance, then that's what you would shoot for. Again, all these are engineered soils. The difference in these is, again, if you're going to have this, you're going to be spending a little more time watering. If you're going to have this, you're not going to spend as much time watering, and it's still going to play quickly after rain. The difference is when it gets hard, the good thing is it's still going to be consistent, meaning when local native mixes dry out and get hard, they're chipping, they're blowing out all over the place. So the hop is going to be quicker, but it's still going to be consistent. It's not going to be erratic hop. So does my sand content match my field type? So now we're going to test. So why test? Well, we're going to make sure the analysis contains the sand particle size distribution, and it's going to tell us what the composition of our soil is. What will I look for? Well, this is going to break down. This is actually just a random test, but this is very close to what's down here in South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. Very close. 80% sand is typically what you're looking at down here for your local native mixes. And your medium sand is not balanced as well. Silt to clay ratio is low. So again, finding the silt to clay ratio, quickly what that is, and again, if this is something that can help you with down the road, don't expect you to take all this in, but 0.5 to 1 is ideal. So here's the ideal specs for professional, intermediate, and recreation. Those that aren't sure, you can always start. It's always better to start low because you can always beef up easier. You start here, it's harder to go down. You can do it, but it's a little bit harder. All right, so now we've classified ourselves, we've determined who we are and what we want. Okay, so in this case, we've determined to go with the recreation. And here's an example of unbalanced soil structures. Very common issues. I mean, I wasn't going to call you out, but you already said it, so yeah. I took the name off. But yeah, this is Myrtle Beach High School a year or two ago. But I see this all over. I see this at colleges. I see it all over. Okay, it's common. It's accepted. It is what it is, right? Well, I'm trying to get people to think outside the box a little bit, and this isn't going to happen tomorrow. This is just thinking down the road and planning down the road. So you got your migration, separation, lots of work to get the game in after rain. Filling these gully washers can take a lot of time just to make it safe. So you have 2 options, again, well, 3 options. The new field will be a forage column. If you want to get there instantly, a 2-inch cap can be done and certified. So this is an example of a 2-inch cap. And you don't even have to do it on the entire field. You can do part of it or base pass. But this was simply going in and removing 2 inches of the existing soil and bringing in 2 inches of the engineered mix. Didn't take long. Did this in this part half a day. With one load, we did over home plate and the base pass. So this is an example of a 2-inch cap. 2-inch minus, then install the classic, graded by hand a couple of times, compress it with the roller. And this was on a Saturday and Sunday we did this. All right, so now, if you know, not in a situation to do a 2-inch cap or a 4-inch column, the last option we're going to spend the last part on, next 15 minutes on, is the amendment process, okay? That's easier to bite off. You're not going to get there instantly. It's going to take a couple of 2, maybe 3 applications, but this is the steps for the field saver amendment process. First thing you're going to do is shoot the field. Take grade shots. Because the grade shots are going to determine the elevation of the field. And if you got this, then it's got to be part of the project. If you built a plateau, if you've got a big lip. Because I don't want to see anybody go to the steps and try to fix your infield until this is fixed. Okay, so that's got to be addressed. And that's, you know, that's due to migration over the years. The next step is taking a soil sample. And these are the steps for that. You remove the conditioner, take some random samples, fill a bucket, and mix it together. Then you send it to the lab. Okay, and then it comes back. So this test here was the first test we did prior to the project. And the test came back just over 80% insane. SCR very low, 0.3. So now that we've seen what we have, determined what we are, okay, now we know we're going to come in number 1 and we're going to lower the lip, which I don't think I have a picture of that, but that was the first step, to take that lip down. Okay? After the lip was taken down, we got to remove the material, because this amendment that's selected is not going to raise the grade. This amendment is going to fill the pore space. So you're talking about getting to the grade you want to get by lowering the lips, and you're going to have a good grade on there that's going to be, you know, perfectly flat, just a little slope going off for water runoff, and you're going to till in 25 tons without raising the elevation. It's hard to conceive, but that's what happens. So bring the proper grade. FS90 was the amendment that was chosen. You know, there's a FS90, 75, and a 60 and a 50 for what that's worth, but that's how it's applied evenly across the surface, and then it's thoroughly blended into the top 3 inches. Okay? 2 directions. Burst time tiller, thoroughly mixed up and blended. And right here, I forgot to mention, this is when, you know, as much as you explain it and plan for it, he didn't quite get it until here. I thought he did, but at this point, we removed 75 tons of material. And as that was happening, and we were looking at weather too, we probably could have and should have removed more, but 75 tons, and I saw Coach using. I was like, what's wrong, Coach? He's like, he said, I can't believe I did this to myself. He took full ownership of it. He didn't point any fingers. None of there were contractors involved. Maybe they didn't know. He took full ownership and said, can't believe I've done this to myself. Over 5 years, or was it 5 years?
Yeah, 13,
5 years.
13 years.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe 5 loads, but every year bringing in the same mix just to put a Band-Aid on it because it migrates out. So, all right, bring another load, bring another load, bring another load. Grade, 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 grade. It all went out and you built the plateau. So, one way to look at the ROI on this is over a 5-year period or 6-year period, doing what he did would pay for the project, if that makes sense. So it is tough to explain, tough to grasp until you actually see this and go through it. So what is the outcome of that? Well, once the field saver amendment was tilled in, now it's going to be laser graded for positive surface runoff, because infields don't drain vertically, they drain horizontally. Very important to understand that. Now your 80% sand mixes here. The one issue you really don't have, I don't think, as much as in the Midwest with facility mixes is playing after rain, because it does go through, but it's all shifty and blows out everywhere. But this, you want to make sure you've got horizontal drainage. 0.5% to 1% slope. After it was graded, you've now got a permanent modified infield profile. Not changing, not going anywhere. It's a permanently modified infield profile. So here's an example of the FS90, the new infield mix, the old infield mix, and then an example of calcined clay amendment. Because if you look on the back of any calcined clay bag, it's going to tell you to till it in at an obscene rate of 1,800 pounds or 2,000 pounds per 1,000 square feet. Very high rate. I used to believe it. I used to go to seminars when I was younger, and I'd be at seminars or hear people say, what do I do? My infield's too hard. Till and calcine. Too soft, till and calcine. Too wet, too dry. It was the answer for everything. Till and calcine. Till and calcine. Some people still do it. A lot of people do. But there's the differences there. And then on paper, so I always, recently after I figured this out and understood what the difference is in an engineered soil amendment compared to just till and calcine, I knew, but I wanted to put on paper. So we started off with just over 80% sand. Okay? I don't know if you can read this or not, but with the Field Saver 90, we took it down to 70% sand. We balanced out the medium sand. We increased the silt to clay ratio closer to the proper range, and we lowered the fine and very fine. Again, not getting into all the technical stuff, but we created a structure that can build a bridge, proper soil structure, to where that silt and clay is balanced out and can fill that pore space. Okay, so this was a permanent modification of the soil profile, going from 80-some% sand to 70. We hit the nail on the head for classic right there. Tilling and calcine, so we till and calcine in the lab at 15% by volume, which is the recommended rate. All we did was increase the 2 millimeters, and we increased the fine and very fine from some of the dust in the back. We didn't do anything with sand, 80%. So by tilling and calcine, you're going to decrease stability. It's going to dry out quicker. You're going to increase migration, increase bad hops. So think about that. If you are doing that on a program for doing that, if you're going to do a huge amount, it costs about the same. But if you're doing a little bit every year, stop the bleeding and try to come up with a better solution, a better plan that's going to make more sense. Okay, so we finished that project on a Sunday. We had a quick seminar on Monday. Monday at noon, it started raining. It didn't stop raining until Tuesday night, I think. Wednesday morning, we went out there, and this is what you're looking at. Now, I don't typically expect it to be set up that quickly. Usually it takes, after you do the project, it takes maybe a week, because you got to get the air out of it and get water through it and compress it properly. Well, when we did it, we had perfect moisture, and we got to compress just right. And this was us out there on Wednesday, and we finished this on Sunday. So again, structured soil versus unstructured. Some of these pictures too, I tried to be relevant to the Southeast, but some of these, this is actually the Midwest. They've got more silty. They got different issues. Both have issues, but different issues. Versus a structured soil. A lot less dust, safer, more resilient. So that's the 80%. Now there's other mixes down here that are a little beefier, that have tried to put the same numbers on paper that I'm talking about, but they're missing the mineralogy of clay, they're missing the structure of the sand, and just not quite hitting the nail on the head. And what that ends up with is a harder surface. It still breaks up when the players run around the base. And then the window for ideal moisture is so small. It's so small that you go from feast, where you have almost too much moisture, to famine, and it cracks it, and it breaks right apart. So one more quick example on the amendment process at one of those beefier fields. This is a D1 school where those pictures were taken. Again, 3-inch depth. You got your new permanent modified profile, mixing in, and here's a permanently modified infield structure. This is a new 3 inches here, and you can't really see the difference in color too much, but that's the old material down below. Engineered soil structure, cleaner, cleat in and cleat out. You're not going to ever get a bad hop with a cleat in and cleat out like that. Now, I'm not saying it's able to maintain that 100% exactly like that every game. It just has to do with moisture. But even when it's dry, it's not going to break apart like this or be loose and shifty like that. Okay, shifting into top dressing benefits. Say you got this project done, or even what you're doing now without it. But it slows the evapotranspiration process from the soil base, provides a buffer zone for the player's cleats in the base soil so they're not sticking as much. It improves resiliency and sliding, and the playability in damp or wet conditions. It can also simplify infield skin maintenance, especially on an engineered surface. So quickly, what is calcine clay? It's heated up to 1200 to 1400. It absorbs water, Monteronite family, enormous amount of pore space, releases and absorbs, and you do not want to till it. But again, trying to let you guys know, because I just came back from the national show, and this is even new. A lot of this is new, not the engineered soil so much, but some of this new technology, calcine clay, as new, was introduced to the show this year, the national show we had in West Palm recently. But there's lots of data out there. So some of this transparent data, for example, is durability. So one issue with calcine in the past is it can break apart and melt down. And a lot of this has been accepted. Sometimes it can be really bad. Sometimes you don't notice it. But when calcine breaks down, it turns into powder, and it can act like silt. And that can create issues with your infield, not to mention you're throwing your money out the window, it's just disappearing. So this test here measures it in a stainless steel canister with water, stainless steel shot balls. It pulverizes the heck out of the calcine, and it measures the loss. So do your homework. I mean, you've got anywhere from 12 and 11% loss to the lower numbers. Okay, so you can look at some products that have 50% more durability. And those aren't even necessarily more expensive like the engineered mix, more expensive than local mixes. So something right there that if you're not aware of, do your homework, ask some questions, because you can get a calcine clay that's going to last longer. I know a lot of you only have enough money to get 1 or 2 pounds a year, right? Well, you put that out, you're going to get another month out of it. It will last a lot longer. And gradations too. So again, all this is transparent, non-biased testing and data, making sure you're not going to get something with too much dust in the bottom or too many courses. Maintaining an engineered infield skin, I'm not going to get into this too much because most of you don't have one, and there's different maintenance, but it's easier. It's predictable, it's easier. This is kind of a routine in San Diego with moisture management and nail dragging. Post-game results, I always call it the corkboard effect. I'm looking for a corkboard effect. The corkboard you press your thumb into, you can feel give and make an indentation. It should be the same in the infield, when you've got that surface. Corkboard, a pin goes in and out easily and cleanly. You take a key, simulate a spike, in and out easily and cleanly. It's going to reduce bad hops, keep the ball down. This is pretty powerful to me for a baseball player to say this. And Kevin Euclid, one of the greatest evolutions in game baseball that doesn't get talked about much, is the playing surface. Amazing how far infield skins have come in a short period of time. And I've seen that, again, because I've maintained native locals as many years as I did engineer. And that came from Kevin Euclid. He's in the brewery business now, I think, in California. All right, so I'm going to blow through the rest of this here. Material selection. Real quick, again, if any of you have the opportunity or are ever in talks with planning. So, ballpark numbers. Artificial costs $10 to $22 per square foot to install. If we're talking 100,000 square foot field on average, $10 a square foot is $1 million. $10 is low range. 22 is, I think the Diamondbacks is 2.2 million. Hybrid system, again, an option with greater than 70% of the game played. In a hybrid system, you can utilize those artificial areas for agility training as well. Down the bullpens, down the foul lines. Well, 100% natural field, the price range is about low end $5 per square foot to $10 a square foot. So, see on that in a second. See the cost range of artificial 10 to 22 per square foot, and the cost of natural 5 to 10. So, we're going to $500,000 to $1 million. This starts at $1 million and goes up. Infield material selection, so native material costs 75 cents, native infield material 75 cents to $1.50 per square foot. And engineered material is $1.50 to $3.50 per square foot. So yes, it is more than native. What is a sustainable and viable long-term solution? Well, this is a case study, this is a fact. This is a D1 school. And the groundskeeper did his homework. So they were coming at him. Coach wanted to put in artificial, and this is what it was going to cost: $1.2 million. They were told they were going to save on maintenance, but they ended up having spot repair. They had to replace home plate in the first base area and pitcher's mound because of spikes. And they spent $35,000 the first year. Well, Not this particular field, but most fields that use a lot. 10 years later, you got to replace them. The warranty's up. When you replace them, it costs $400,000 to dispose of the turf and replace it. So you coughed up 1.2. You do have maintenance. You got the heat, questionable on injury, and $400,000. So, yeah, you play more games in the spring, especially where it's snowing. Is that worth the cost of greater injury? I don't know. Natural, this was an offering for the same place. He found, like I said, put together right with the right design, everything done right for $750,000. He was going to save $450,000. He said, look, we can make $45,000 a year and put it towards maintenance and materials and supplies, or overtime, or we can put it towards equipment that we can use on other fields. It is sustainable and recyclable. It was going to come with proper designs. Well, the difference is, in this case, 10 years later, their investment would have still been in place, still been sustainable, still been viable, and they would not have had to cough up $400,000. So that's one way I look at it, if you ever get the opportunity to talk about that. So, starting to wrap up here, another 5 minutes at the most, you will lose when attempting to compare apples to oranges. So if you ever say, I'd like to try out that engineered infield mix, I'd like to see how that is, you talk to Tim and you say, that's awesome, man, good luck getting it ready, getting it approved. Well, this is what you're going to go to with the benefits. Again, like a golf green. We've talked about the benefits, the pros and cons of each. Now we're looking at cost of ownership. So you've invested greater than $5 per square foot for the rest of your field. Greater than 5 to 10 to even higher per square foot. So don't cut yourself short on just 10% of the most important part of your field. 70% of where the game's played. You're going to get the increased duration of moisture retention, more forgiving and resilient, less migration, more consistent, increase the value of your facility, give an edge for recruiting, re-entry faster after rain games, play more with more games, less pain, and no more gully wash, use less conditioner, and save time and money. So when you're looking to get to that point where you look at the cost, 9 times out of 10 you lose because they say, well, we paid this much per ton for infield mix, why should we pay twice as much? Well, if you're getting an infield, especially if you've got a field that's decent, I guarantee you put in over $5 per square foot when it comes to grass or artificial and irrigation and all that. So at that point, hopefully you can talk them into putting the right thing in where the game is played. The bitterness of poor quality lingers long after the sweetness of cheapness is forgotten. This was actually a major league field where the groundskeeper is not there anymore, and maybe there wasn't testing, but they ended up getting a local native mix and high silt and pebbles. So what decision makers determine the outcome? ADs, committees, board members, elected officials, park and rec managers, city managers, sometimes a groundskeeper, member of the athletic association. The point is, whether I'm talking to groundskeepers at the STMA, where I did a talk similar to this recently, or coaches, I rarely get to talk to a large percentage of this group. So that's kind of what I leave you with if you ever go into that, whether it's opportunity to build a new field, which most of you probably won't get. If you do, love to help you out with that, to steer you with a natural solution for baseball. But even amending your field or planning for something like that, where you get on pace with, if you've done what you've always got, you're going to get what you've always had. And you're just going through the same thing and spending time filling gully washers and all that. So it's doing your due diligence and making sure you've done your homework before you go up top for approval. So that was probably like drinking water through a fire hose. I turned that into a much longer session, but I appreciate y'all having me, and I'd be more than happy to, you guys are welcome to jot my information down and follow up on any of that stuff. There's a lot of testimonials and examples on our website. I tend to post a fair amount of the stuff on Twitter in the past, and we've got our mothership in Slippery Rock, PA, so one of the challenges down here has been freight to get it down here, but we've got 10 around the country and pushing to get one somewhere Atlanta or Raleigh, Durham area get the freight down a bit. But that being said, there's still a lot of it happening in this area, and while it has started at the higher levels, it's taken over even through D1. It can make sense at the lower levels too. It's happening a lot around the country, and being my passion and background, it's always fun to work with and very gratifying to see the look on faces like this guy out here when it's all said and done. So appreciate you guys having me. Any quick questions? I'd take one, otherwise we're out of time, and hit me up anytime down the road.